Several subtle allusions to Niles Crane can be seen in First Class, the third episode of the Frasier remake. 19 years after leaving his birthplace of Seattle, Frasier Crane is starting over in Boston. He faces several new obstacles, such as breaking into a new professional field and mending his tense relationship with his son Freddie. He will have to accomplish all of this without the assistance of his brother and closest confidant, unlike in the Emerald City. Since David Hyde Pierce declined to take on the project, Niles will not be appearing in the Frasier reboot. The original Frasier provided Niles a storyline that is arguably even greater than that of his older brother, even though it had a headliner. Over the course of the 11-year run of the show, the youngest Crane brother had a number of personal transformations, chief among them being a shift in love preferences. Frasier was more content than ever at the end of his tenure, since he was in a love relationship with Daphne and had recently had their first kid, David. Even though Niles' tale has come to an end, his friendship with Frasier is greatly missed in the reboot, particularly as Martin's firstborn keeps looking for the life he really wants. David unintentionally found a Frasier match, just like Niles. In the third episode of the Frasier reboot, as he gets ready to teach his first class at Harvard, Frasier hurries through his closet to find the perfect jacket for the ensemble. While Freddie and Eve are practicing for Eve's impending auditions in his living room, Frasier asks him questions about his wardrobe choices, but they cannot be bothered. In the end, he determines that his students will get the desired scholarly atmosphere from a tweed jacket with elbow patches. Frasier is instantly motivated to change when he opens his door and sees David wearing the exact same outfit, even though he already feels good about how he looks. It's interesting to note that in the original series, this is exactly what happened to both Niles and Frasier, comically horrifying them both. The identical group of Martin's boys appeared in Frasier Season 4, Episode 10, Liar, Liar, as they went to Cafe Nervosa for their morning cup of coffee. David's wardrobe choices, which are comparable to those of his uncle, clearly show that his father gave him good sense for style. Even though he shares characteristics with Daphne and the other Moon family members, the Frasier reboot, which basically recreates Frasier and Niles' argument with David, serves as a reminder of the younger Crane sibling. Olivia explains the relationship between Frasier and Niles. Frasier, a frequent public speaker, soon finds that teaching is more difficult than he had anticipated. In First Class, he finds it difficult to relate to his Harvard pupils after finding out that they primarily seek his counsel on personal issues. Olivia, the head of the school's psychiatry department, is unconcerned about it. She even inspires him to embrace his popularity. In fact, in the end, she comes clean and says that she really wants him to be a dancing bear rather than a teacher because she is desperate for him to succeed and she wants to get revenge on her sister, who was recently appointed provost at Yale. Olivia finally admits his true reasons for employing Frasier after tricking him into taking a class with a Dr. Crane theme that almost makes him give up. Subsequently, she discusses having a sister, with whom you have a very intense and competitive relationship. Frasier is rightly offended by this, as he has a personal connection to Niles, and is therefore all too familiar with the emotion. Frasier and Niles had a tight relationship, but they also had a sibling rivalry that could go way too intense. This has always been the case between them since they were young, as Martin disclosed in the first episode. Remarkably, the entire scene never mentions Niles by name. But Frasier's final choice to remain at Harvard and his attitude suggests that he is considering his brother and how he may relate to Olivia. Furthermore to that, recalling the relationship between Frasier and Niles from the third episode of the Frasier reboots serves as a reminder of what the new show lacks: their electrifying and incredibly amusing dynamic. Freddie remembers the closed restaurant of Frasier and Niles. The show doesn't mention Frasier's brother's name until episode 3, despite multiple references to Niles. Remarkably, Freddie is the one who brings him up when he makes fun of his father for wanting to leave Harvard, just as Frasier did when he told his father he wanted to leave the Ivy League. Freddie draws attention to Frasier's tendency to give up, and to bolster his argument, he remembers a previous occasion when he and Niles left their restaurant after just one night. However, it's important to note that, in fairness, the brothers knew right away that they weren't made out for the industry following the drama in the Frasier episode, The Innkeepers. After learning that Seattle's oldest restaurant was closing, Niles and Frasier pooled their resources and money to purchase it in the 1995 installment of the classic series. The two had planned the entire opening night, but they were made to work the kitchen themselves after acting like their obnoxious selves around the workers. It's interesting to note that the Crane family has already ridiculed Niles and Frasier's failing venture. In the past, their father did as well, demonstrating even more of a resemblance between Martin and Freddie. Concerns about Frasier's legacy arose from Niles' divorce. After having to resort to his old TV show antics to keep his students interested, Frasier feels dejected and confides in Alan about the plight of his legacy. He feels that having Dr. Crane did not accomplish his goal of having a significant impact on the world. He is dubious that sharpening his contemporaries' minds through showmanship will be possible now that he is an educator. This specific concern stems from Niles' ongoing derision of Frasier's Seattle radio program. Although the younger Crane was open about his thoughts about radiotherapy being ineffectual in comparison to his private practice, it is true that he explored the idea and even participated in a few instances of it while his brother was ill. In the Frasier reboot, Frasier becomes obsessed with Niles' critiques as he is unable to express them to him directly. Although it's unclear how Niles thinks about Dr. Crane, Frasier's regrets are highlighted by the fact that he doesn't feel proud of what has become.